I knew for me, I needed to completely cut it out for a chunk of time. If people need to be intoxicated to enjoy me, why are they in my life? I didn't even realize how uncomfortable I was until I didn't have alcohol to lean on. And having awkward situations and awkward moments doesn't kill you, and being rejected doesn't kill you. That was life-changing. That was so freeing. Hello, friends. Okay, so this video, it's a biggie. So last month was my 1-year goal for not drinking for a whole year. So actually it started with, I just wanted to do a 6-month break, and when I hit 6 months, I decided I don't want to stop. I don't feel like I'm wanting to go back to drinking, even if it's just a glass of wine at a wedding or something like that. I just want to make it a year. And now that I am at that year mark, I feel like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go back. I do not want alcohol in my life. And in this video, I kind of want to tell you why, how it completely changed my body, my heart, my mind, my relationship with myself, with God, with trauma that I've experienced, and how taking that break from alcohol has actually given me so much space and so much clarity to do some of that healing and to work through my stuff. It has changed my life, and I want to be as honest and open in this video as possible, but also at the same time, this is probably one of my most tender areas in my own heart and my own life, so I want to do my part to protect myself. So maybe in the future I'll be even more open about this. There's such a wide range with alcohol or with any sort of vice. These things don't have to apply to alcohol. Anything can be a vice. Alcohol is not bad. I really don't feel like alcohol is bad or a sin or anything like that. I strongly believe that. I think that you can have an unhealthy, toxic relationship with food, with men, with your body, with whatever. Like really anything can be toxic. It really just depends on the intention behind it. What I define as toxic is if I'm using it as a crutch or something to lean on so I don't have to work through whatever emotion is behind that, I define that as toxic. So alcohol for sure was that for me. I can be pretty open and outgoing, but in certain environments, I can be really socially nervous and a little bit socially awkward sometimes. But I also think that the best people are, so. In my experience, I really used alcohol as a crutch for me to help me get through that social anxiety, especially in dating. I really did not know how to be romantic or pursued or feel sexy or beautiful at all. And so it just felt so much easier to be a little buzzed, to be able to have that kind of connection with men. I feel like the more I experienced stressful or like damaging situations or dynamics, I felt like alcohol became more of a crutch. And yeah, it just became such a toxic thing for me. And it wasn't that way at first, and it definitely turned into that. So I decided last November that something has to change. My life has to change. And I knew right away that I could not do that without taking alcohol out of my life completely. I had tried to do like weeks without it, a month without it. I'd done all that. I'd done 30 days. Like that wasn't necessarily a big deal. But then when I reintroduced alcohol back into my life, it was always, I just picked it up right where I left off, having toxic habits with it. So I knew for me, I needed to completely cut it out for a chunk of time. Whether that was 6 months, a year, forever, I don't know. So I started with 6 months, and I talked with my parents about it and told them how I was feeling. They were my biggest cheerleaders. They have been so great through it. I was just so honest and raw with how I was feeling, and they helped me make a game plan. This wasn't a super comfortable part of my life to share with people. Honestly, my parents were the only people that I talked to about this. Even my close friends and my boyfriend at the time, I did not talk to them about it. And looking back now, I probably could have, but I just felt like this is something that I need complete focus on, and I want to work through some of this on my own with a really small group before I invite the world into it. And my friends and the rest of my family and my boyfriend and stuff, like they knew that I was taking a break from alcohol, but I think they thought it was maybe more just like health reasons instead of like mental health reasons. 90% of my close friends and family were so supportive, so encouraging of me, and they were great. But I think when you completely cut alcohol out of your life, like when you do anything that's extreme or abnormal, like something like that, and in our society and in my age group especially, being in your 20s, it's abnormal to not have any alcohol. It's abnormal to be the only person sitting at dinner or at a party with a glass of water. It's not common. And I think that was one of the hardest parts for me, was just sticking out, especially having social anxiety. I just felt like I don't want people asking me questions. I don't want to look weird. I just want to blend in and not have anyone curious as to what I'm doing and why. And I had to deal with that. And it was actually so good because it really did show me who my friends were, because it gave me this like super clarity of what friends and what people like being around me, whether I'm drunk or not. And I just had this kind of cutthroat, like, if people need to be intoxicated to enjoy me, why are they in my life? Why are they saying that they're my friend? That was just super eye-opening to me, to see what people I actually could connect with in the way that's truly me, that's not like dancing around and crazy and hanging off each other. Like, that's actually like the way that I am wired to connect with someone, which is real conversations. I mean, it's funny because even if I was in that party environment, I was still me. Even though I was maybe acting different or putting a mask on, I was still myself. Like I wanted to go talk one-on-one with someone about like their relationship or their story. Like I still was myself, and I wanted to be in those relationships and have those connections without feeling like I had to be tipsy or they had to be tipsy to have those types of connections. I was always kind of praised for like, oh yeah, like she's not gonna have a fruity drink, she's gonna have some whiskey, or she's gonna have an IPA, she's gonna have a beer, like she's one of the guys. Like there's always something about that that made me feel included, that made me feel different, and I don't know. And that was hard for me to let go of and realize that the man that's really going to love me is not going to care if I'm going to have an IPA with him. He's going to think that I'm valuable for more than what drink I have, or if I can be one of the guys or not. So just like in the environment of friendships and relationships, it really opened my eyes to seeing who my real friends were and what environments I actually wanted to be in. I was so surprised. There were so many environments where I didn't even realize how uncomfortable I was until I didn't have alcohol to lean on. Being sober in some of those environments where I was with certain friends or certain people or doing certain things, it made me realize, like, oh my gosh, I am miserable. I didn't even know. I felt like I needed to have a drink to take the edge off because I'm so freaking miserable around these people or around this environment. And I'm not saying it's their fault or anything like that. Like, there's just different ways of connecting with people. There's different ways of having social interactions. There's also different personalities that fit well together and personalities that just don't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was very eye-opening for me to see, oh my goodness, these type of people are never really going to see the real me. And I'm always going to look like a goober to them if I'm myself. And that's why it's so stressful. I'm trying to like drink to relax and be cool and be accepted and somehow relate with them. And once I realized that, I was like, I can just not go to those environments. I can just not hang out with those people. That's okay. They'll meet other friends that are more like them, and I'll meet other friends that are more like me. It's not the end of the world. So once I realized that, I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of freeing. That's amazing. And also it made me realize too how much I wasn't working through my own, like, why am I having this social anxiety? Why do I feel like I don't fit in? Why do I feel like I wouldn't be accepted? Why do I feel like what I have to say is not enough? I never addressed any of those things because it was so easy for me to just get a little buzzed and become what I needed to be to connect with that person and kind of fake it. And when I didn't have that crutch to lean on, I actually had to ask myself those questions. What's at the root of this? And how do I actually work through that in a way that is productive and healing? And I don't want to feel like I don't fit in anymore. I don't want to feel like I don't have something valuable to say. I want to work through that. I want to heal from that. I want to give that to God. I want to process that. And there was no way of me doing that when I was just leaning on alcohol. But when I was in those environments and when I was feeling the social anxiety, I had to actively talk to God and say, okay, God, I am believing the lie right now that I am not enough, that I don't have something valuable to say, that I won't be accepted, that I will be rejected, or when I'm rejected, that I'll never be able to recover from that. And I had to give those lies to him in those moments and ask him, like, okay, God, what do you say about this? What do you say about me and who I am? And I would wait and listen. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it was like I could hear something right away and I could see myself in a different light and it was easy, and then sometimes it was still just awkward. But you know what? I learned from that being awkward doesn't kill you. And having awkward situations and awkward moments doesn't kill you, and being rejected doesn't kill you. You can work through it, and it doesn't actually mean that you are worthless or rejectable. That was huge. Life-changing. That was life-changing. That was so freeing to know that I can fail, I can be rejected or misunderstood by the world, and at the end of the day, I can still know who I am. and I can still go on through life, and that's not going to kill me, and that's not going to change how I see myself. That was so freeing. So freeing. Another thing that I noticed was my body, my physical health completely changed. Not only did I lose 15 pounds from just, and it's not just the alcohol part of that, because alcohol has so much sugar in it. It has so many carbs in it, but also it changes your hormone levels, and so your body holds on to fat so much more because you're not sleeping well, you're not having good energy throughout the day. It just completely jumbles up all of your hormones. And so that makes your body hold on to fat. It makes your body swell and hold on to water. And so you just feel bloated and puffy and swollen all the time. Your joints hurt. Like when you have that much sugar in your body, it's just a lot of inflammation. So it wasn't just that, but also when I'm going out to bars and things like that, you end up eating French fries and salty things, and then you want sweet things, and you just end up eating so much more junk food because you just have all these cravings and you don't have the inhibitions to say, no, I want to give my body food that is nourishing and life-giving to me. Oh my gosh, this has already been 20 minutes. Shoot. Well, apparently I have a lot to say about this. So, first of all, I lost 15 pounds. Huge. And I wasn't puffy and swollen. Huge. I didn't have anxiety have as much. Huge, life-changing. That really changed my life, because that was one thing with alcohol, is I noticed that it really made me so anxious. And the more time that went on that I was drinking, the more anxious it made me quicker. So where before I would just get a little bit of anxiety like the next day, and then a couple years into that, then I started having anxiety like that night as I was still out with my friends. That just became more and more how my body processed alcohol, was to give me this feeling of panic and anxiety and overwhelm and depressed feelings and unmotivation, and it was just not good times for sure. So that was huge and life-changing for my physical body. Financially, huge difference there. Not going out and spending money on drinks, even just at dinner, or if I'm going out with friends, especially because when you're going out with friends like on a Friday night, you end up having a lot to drink, like several drinks, and a lot of times you're giving tips with that too, and then you order fries and chicken strips and stuff like that. So it ends up being a lot of money that now is in my bank account, and that now I'm able to save. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. And also, now that I feel like it's not uncomfortable for me to be in those environments anymore with water, I feel like I can be outgoing and myself and comfortable, because I've done so much work in that area of my life that it really doesn't feel strange anymore to be the outlier. It really doesn't feel strange anymore to be the one person with a water. I will give you a nice little tip. There was a couple times where, whether it was like a birthday party or, you know, something with my boyfriend at the time or a friend or something, where I had to be at this event. I, for the most part, just kind of cut out completely going to bars or going to any place that was surrounded by alcohol, just because, like, what am I gonna do there? Not anything that's gonna be helping me in that journey. So I just, for, you know, 95% of the time, I just cut out those environments. But sometimes, like if it's like my best friend's birthday or something, I don't, for her sake, I don't want to necessarily say like, I'm not going to go to your party. I don't know. So what I would do is, if it was like at, especially a lot of breweries and some wineries, and some bars will have kombucha. That was such a saving grace for me at first because people don't know it's non-alcohol. It just looks like a fizzy drink, and they usually give it to you in a glass that looks like a beer. And just having the peace of mind that people weren't going to be asking questions was really helpful to me with the social anxiety part of it. And it still felt like a treat. It still felt like it was something I could sip on. It still felt like a celebration, but I wasn't getting drunk off of it, and I wasn't spending a lot of money because I'm not getting multiple of those drinks. I don't know, I think just overall it just really made me decide who I am and where my validation comes from. And I think sometimes you can't do that unless you're uncomfortable. And this whole process, this whole year has been hard and uncomfortable, and it's just hard to do something different than the norm. It's hard to decide to do something different than the norm. And I would say the hardest part is like the first month, because just telling people, just deciding this is what I want to do, this is what I've committed to, and having to explain it to people, even people that care and that are kind and encouraging, it still just felt hard for me, at least. So that first month was definitely the hardest, just making the decision and having to explain myself. And then after that, it was so much easier. It was so much easier because at that point, like, I felt like, okay, I've committed to this and I can just lean into it and enjoy it. And it was just so much easier after that first month. So I'm sure that I'll probably have more to say on this in the future. I don't plan on having alcohol back in my life at this moment, and that could change in the future. I feel like I've worked through a lot, and if I ever wanted to maybe have like a glass of wine at a wedding or something, that maybe could happen in the future, but I just don't know the benefit, because I feel like I can be in those environments and be so much more myself and be so much more comfortable and at ease and enjoy myself. I don't know what the benefit would be of having that one glass of wine and having it mess up my hormones and have the sugar, and I feel like I would rather just have a piece of cake. So I don't know, but as of right now, like, I just don't see the benefit of it. So that's just a little bit of my story with having a year of no alcohol. I'm sure I'll probably talk more on this in the future. If anyone has questions or stories or, you know, comparing in any way, please put it down in the comments. This is something that I really like talking about, that has really been such a huge life-changing blessing for me, and it's something that I'm excited about, and I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about how it's changed my body and my heart and my mind and my digestive system and my sleep, and I mean, it's really changed so much of my life. So if you want to share your stories, please put them in the comments below. I would love to hear them, and I would love to connect with you over them, because why I started this channel was to not do it alone. I want us to do it together and overcome difficult things together and support each other through it. So I hope you give me the opportunity to do that. I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.